The great warship drifted above the cracked horizon of the frontier world, its obsidian hull stretching like a silent mountain across the dusk sky. Inside its command hall, the queen of the dominant empire paced in a storm of fury. Her voice, sharp as a blade through steel, rang through the chambers as she demanded to know who had dared touch her personal armor without her permission. The towering guards bowed low, trying not to quake beneath her gaze, yet none answered, for none of them had done it. The armor rested on the raised platform behind her, gleaming brighter than it had in years, restored to flawless condition. Only one among the countless crew had touched it, and he was not one of her kind. He was a human, a simple engineer stationed far below in the machinery decks, unnoticed and usually unimportant in the eyes of the Empire. His name was Daniel. Daniel had spent the last 6 months aboard the warship as part of the treaty exchange between the Human Federation and the Alien Empire. Humans had recently proven themselves unexpectedly skilled in mechanical diagnostics that the Empire's experts admired but rarely trusted. Daniel, quiet and methodical, had become a fixture of the engine decks, moving from malfunction to malfunction with calm precision. Most of the Empire's workers towered over him, but few could match his patience when dealing with the warship's ancient components. Earlier that morning, he had discovered the Queen's armor discarded in a restricted but vulnerable section of the repair hold, resting against a flickering console. Its protective plating was cracked. One shoulder plate was nearly fractured in half. The internal power reglars were sputtering. To him, it had not been a royal artifact at that moment. It had simply looked like a machine in trouble. And a machine in trouble was his responsibility. So he repaired it. The Queen, however, did not see it that way. Inside the throne hall, she stood rigid, her posture cutting like a sharpened spear. She was tall, proud, and revered by her people for unmatched battle skill and leadership. Her armor was more than equipment. It was a symbol of her lineage and strength, never touched by unauthorized hands. So when she found it restored, her first instinct was outrage. Someone had bypassed elite security. Someone had dared to handle her sacred gear. Someone had breached the one object she trusted more than any living being. She turned to her guards. "Bring me every technician who entered the repair hold." Moments later, dozens lined the hall. Among them stood Daniel, unaware of the storm he had stepped into. The guards were silent as the Queen strode past each one. Her eyes were sharp and unflinching. She inspected hands. She inspected eyes. Then she reached Daniel. She paused. Here was the smallest of the group. A quiet one. A human. No armor. No weapon. No wires or cables strapped across him. No insignia of her elite engineering corps. He stood calmly despite being called before her with no explanation. Human. The single word cut across the hall. Daniel lifted his head. "Yes, Your Majesty." Her voice darkened. "Who repaired my armor?" "I did," Daniel answered. A single sentence, but spoken without fear. The hall froze. Not one voice dared to interrupt the silence that followed. Many expected Daniel to be vaporized on the spot. The Queen looked at him with disbelief, then rising anger. "You admit it?" "Yes." "You touched what was forbidden?" "Yes." "You understand the punishment could end your life?" "Yes." He did not shrink. He did not tremble. He stood like a stone beneath a rising tide. "What made you think you had the right?" she demanded. Daniel did not answer immediately. He had learned much in his months on the warship. He knew what responses were disrespectful. He also knew what honesty looked like on these decks, and how rare it was. "It was damaged," he said. And I fix things that are damaged." A murmur rippled across the hall. Even her fiercest generals stared. The Queen's expression flickered in a way none had seen before. Not confusion. Something else. Something quieter. Something she did not like others to witness. You repaired it even though you were not ordered. Yes. Why? Daniel looked at the gleaming armor behind her. Because no machine should be left broken when someone relies on it. Because it protects you. And because it was designed to work, not fail. Another silence. The Queen stepped closer, her shadow towering over him. You did this for me. Daniel lifted his chin. I did this because it needed doing. The distinction struck her. He had not acted out of fear, not out of worship, not out of desire for reward. He had acted out of principle. A principle alien to many in her empire, yet central to the human spirit. Her eyes moved to the armor again. It looked new, strong, whole, better than even her elite armor smiths had managed in years. She walked toward the platform and placed a hand on its surface. Her fingers slid along the seamless join in the plating. The fractured shoulder was now smooth and fortified. The internal systems hummed with renewed balance. It was perfect. She turned back to Daniel. What techniques did you use? Daniel hesitated, only because the explanation would be long. I stabilized the power reglayers with a cross-lattice of conductive microrails. I reforged the shoulder plating using layered thermal compression, so it would hold stronger than the original. I replaced the inner gel with a self-regulating mixture that adapts to your movement. And I recalibrated the targeting sync so the armor responds at the speed you command it. The technicians around him stared in shock. Many had studied these systems for decades and never achieved such precision. The Queen watched him with new intent. You improved it. I fixed it, Daniel corrected softly. Another subtle shift in her expression. She dismissed the gathered staff with a single wave, leaving only Daniel before her. When the hall had emptied, she stepped down from the platform and circled him slowly, assessing him with the same scrutiny she used on rival commanders. You are a simple engineer, she said. Yes, you work alone, most of the time. You have no formal training in our systems. I study what I see, and you repaired the armor that only my sworn masters have touched since my coronation. I saw that it needed help. She stopped before him. Help. The word echoed in her thoughts. Unusual and unfamiliar in the strict hierarchy she ruled. You are human, she said. I am. What drives your kind to act without command? Daniel thought for a moment. Responsibility. If something can be made better, we make it better. If something is broken, we fix it. If someone depends on something, we do not walk away. A long pause followed. The Queen looked at him with a growing intensity, not of anger now, but of evaluation. Your kind fights with fire. You act without rank. You correct things you have not been asked to correct. You do not fear my judgment. I respect your authority, Daniel said. But respect is not fear. The Queen stood very still. Her voice softened only slightly. You speak boldly for someone who could be punished. I speak plainly. She admired plainness, even if she would never admit it. For many years, she had been surrounded by voices that told her what she expected to hear, not what she needed to know. When she trained as a young heir, she crafted her own armor beside the old masters. But over time, that skill had been taken from her by tradition. The armor became symbolic rather than personal. For someone to restore it with such skill felt like a challenge and a gift all at once. She stepped closer again. What do humans gain by helping those who could harm them? Daniel met her gaze. Trust, understanding, maybe peace. Peace, she said like the word was foreign metal. Yes, you believe your actions create peace. They can, Daniel said. Not always. But sometimes doing what is right plants the idea in others that they can do the same. The queen looked away, deep in thought. Her empire valued strength and dominance. Peace came only through overwhelming victory. Yet here was a human who had acted without any expectation of protection or reward. "You think me worthy of this repaired armor," she said. "I think you deserve armor that works," Daniel replied. She studied him again, this time with a new sense of curiosity. "You are unlike the others of your kind I have met." "I am only one of many," Daniel said. "We all have this in us." She nodded slowly, though she did not fully understand. Her hand rested on the armored gauntlet. "You will remain aboard this warship," she said. Daniel blinked once. "Yes, Your Majesty. You will continue to maintain my armor. If it needs maintenance." "It will," she said. He nodded again. "I will take care of it. And you will also teach my engineering corps what you know." "I can do that." She stared at him, as if deciding whether to reveal something deeper. Then she said, "You may also request resources, tools, materials. You have impressed me, human." Daniel did not smile, though he felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The queen looked at him one last time before turning away. "Be ready," she said. "For what?" "For the future that your actions today may have changed." Daniel watched her leave the hall, her restored armor shining with renewed life. He stood alone for a moment, absorbing what had happened. He had stepped into the path of a furious ruler and emerged not only unharmed but respected. His quiet dedication had been seen. His skill had been acknowledged by the very leader whose armor he had dared to touch. It was not victory in battle. It was not conquest or glory or recognition shouted across the stars. It was something smaller and more meaningful. A human had shown the value of hands that mend rather than hands that destroy.